Hello, this is Youssef. I'm doing a podcast called Bushcast, Perspectives, Sentiments, and Expressions. It's putting spotlights on whoever I've met through my journey and somewhat local, so we can have person-to-person talk to put a spotlight on those people, and I hope you enjoy. This is called Wockner, who I've known for, about 15 years perhaps, maybe 14 years. He's a guitar player, he's like a loop master, and an influencer, I consider, from what he's done with his work. I hope you enjoy.
Cheers!
Cheers, man.
Drink your tea.
Thank you. Yeah, chamomile tea.
That's the good stuff.
Delicious. So,
Here we are.
here we are.
It's been a minute, man. It's good to see you.
I remember the Key Bar.
Oh, yeah. We were doing the open mic.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Used to run sound for that. It's crazy.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. That was when you had, like... I love doing sound for that event because, like, you had, like, 20 different acts in the space of 30 minutes or whatever.
That's right.
And you'd just be like, you know...
Yeah.
Get some cool stuff in.
Was Alex there as well? John?
Alex was there for a while.
Yeah.
Brett was there for a while.
Yeah.
It was the circle of...
Yeah. Daddy definitely brought a lot of core people.
Yeah.
You know,
She had
Allison
some regulars.
And know so many.
Yeah.
You know, what was your path?
Yeah.
When did you start playing guitar?
I started in... I was grade 9. 8. 9.
Nice.
Grade 9.
Was
At
it
school.
12? Or...
Yeah, I think it was like 12, 13 or something.
Nice.
Yeah, somewhere in there, 13 or whatever. I just remember my grandma had an old nylon string guitar and nobody was using it. And I borrowed it. She just said, here, just like take it and mess around because nobody else is using it. So I did that and then just got some friends at school who were all kind of into guitar. And I think that age you're impressionable based on what everybody else is into, in your friendship group.
What was that? What was the...
Well, I think people were just into playing guitar and like Wonderwall was big, like, I don't know, there's just high school bands were kind of becoming a thing. Because we were in grade 9, so at the time when I went to high school, like grade 7 wasn't, you started high school in grade 9, so, grade 8. So we had that first year of like get to know everybody because we all come from like primary schools. And so, and then grade 9, it was like people started getting into bands and like more, validated in sports teams and stuff, like football and whatever. So I feel like you like double down on your extracurricular stuff.
Yeah.
And I just have vivid memories of like sitting in our year coordinator and teacher's office at lunchtime because it was air conditioned for one, but it was like 5 of us just sitting around playing guitar, never really finishing a song, like just playing the first half of a song and then moving to the next one.
Was that around Sunny Coast? Or?
That was in Bundaberg.
Bundaberg.
Yeah. Born and raised, Bundy boy.
Nice.
Yeah. And then we moved here. I moved here.
Did you have a high school band?
Yeah. So we all kind of played in each other's high school bands. So there was a few. At the time, I didn't like really sing, but I played some guitar, and I did some classical guitar for a while. Not really well, I would say. Like I'm more like poppy and just impressionable and just I wanted to bounce between like all the cool stuff, what I thought was the cool stuff. So classical guitar wasn't really on my radar as much because it was all classical music. It was all like traditional style music that everybody always played. It was like if you're going to play classical guitar, these are the songs. That you couldn't just.
Stairway to Heaven.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you could, or like versions of like Eric Clapton and stuff. Like you couldn't just play the songs you wanted to play. There was like a set list of songs that you played if you did, traditional or like classical stuff. And so I didn't resonate with that too much. I didn't do it long enough. And we just played. I think being in high school, you just whatever's on the radio, whatever people are into, cool bands and stuff. You just want to play that music. And so we had, there was a handful of like a small handful of like singers, guitarists, drummers, nobody really wanted to play bass, or nobody could or did a good job, so somebody always had to play bass. And actually I remember that was the first like legitimate gig I ever got, was playing bass. And it was only because I had a bass guitar.
Oh, yeah, the bass player, all right.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, well, nobody, or the bass player couldn't play the gig. It was a gig. We all got paid $35. It was somebody's birthday party, like just outside of town. Everybody got paid $35. I think we played for like 5 hours straight or something. It was it was ridiculous. It was all the songs we knew. And I only got the gig. Like I was filling in for the bass player of the band, and I only got the gig because I had a bass amp. I'm pretty sure that's the only reason.
There you go.
And then, but the bass player couldn't do it, so I borrowed his bass guitar, and then I had my bass amp, so it was all good.
Sweet.
Yeah, happy days.
And so, after high school, you went to a uni or college? Or?
Yeah, I went to uni.
Where?
I studied in Bundaberg as well. Like my parents
right,
lived
cool.
down the street from the uni, and so I studied school teaching, and I got my bachelor of.
What did you teach?
I didn't really. I did some sub work, like some relief teaching and stuff, and I did a couple of little contracts. But at the time, like when I went through through uni, like I was gigging, and I just played a lot of gigs, and I kind of transitioned out of like I stepped up instead of being a bass player. Like I just went through a phase of playing guitar a lot, and then I subbed in for the singer. And then I would end up singing more, and then the band would get consolidated and whatever. But through uni, I did a lot of gigs on the weekends, and so I was able to pay for my uni,
That's
like my HECS debt and stuff. So I paid for that with my gigging income, and I was making like a full-time wage just playing, 3 gigs on the weekends.
Yeah.
So then basically by the time I'd finished, a few years later, by the time I finished my degree, my teaching degree, it was like, now I had to make the decision of like, I'm actually established enough I can just keep doing music, or do I cut music? And I followed the degree that I just got. And it was a pretty easy decision. I mean, I'm like 20.
I'm sorry, what was the degree?
In music, teaching.
Music?
Yeah. No, teaching. Like primary school teaching.
General.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, school teacher.
Yeah.
So I majored in like PE and stuff, sports, but yeah, and it's a good job. It's weirdly unanimously voted along with nurses and stuff as like the most overworked and underpaid job.
Yeah.
But it's a fulfilling role to play in society as a school teacher.
But I feel you really found your niche and you found your groove. And from what I've seen, meeting in at the keyboard and playing, and how you come across, it's very focused on the music. Very focused on what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's not like let's play music for whatever, or establishing it that way. I mean, it's sort of it was really nice seeing on like TikToks or whatever, teaching, giving people hands and sharing in knowledge, which is a very good brotherly thing to do with in life, living with other people and being human and all that.
Yeah.
So,
Thanks, man. I think it's just I don't know. I think it's just the right thing to do. I think you should do. You should do.
Absolutely.
And the people who don't I could be wrong, but I feel like the people who are really protective of, don't get me wrong. If there's something that you've worked so hard for to figure out, you want to hold it close and precious or whatever, and especially if you've had hardships surrounding that, that non-believers or supporters or whatever, you don't want to just, hey guys, I found the answer, it's way over here. But there's a difference there with just giving knowledge that you've learned and experienced and stuff. And I feel like anybody who has good information to give, good experience and tips and knowledge to give, and is also I feel like anybody who would give that knowledge isn't threatened in their job. They're fantastic, or they just genuinely believe in the greater good of the industry that they're in. So but the people who are really precious, with reason, with tips and tricks and ideas, and hey guys, have you thought about this? Giving away that stuff for free. Most people who are who do feel threatened, I think, or who might not be as great as they think they are, they're not the ones that are giving away those tips. They feel like it's like I need to prop myself up on top of people who can't do it, and it's just not
So this is
fair.
what you're saying, once you get to a certain level, it's the norm is to share it because you're not threatened.
I think so. I've just found I've traveled a lot, I've met a lot of amazing musicians, and the better ones that I've met have been the least reluctant to give up. Like they're the most, like they're the first ones to say, "Oh, did you try this?" Or "Hey, man, I found out about this." Like they're the ones that want to give you advice and tricks and tips, or they're the ones, because you're also like there's a confidence in their ability level that they're like, even if I give you this advice, like I know you're not coming for my job. Like I would just rather give you this advice so you become a better guitarist, so we all get more recognition or whatever. Like me as a looper,
as a guitarist, it's I'm sure you enjoy when you're with other people and you want to do something fun. It's nice to jam or do something.
Yeah, you share in that way.
Yeah, and it's beautiful that way. I think it's probably the best sharing.
Jamming's hard though too, because it's such a trust thing. Like, and it's like I've got a really weird relationship with jamming. Like I love it. I love like who doesn't love a good jam? But something that's like we've all been there, or if you haven't been there, then you're the person we're talking about. But like we've all been in a room that like there's like an ocean of comparison between abilities, and that's fine. Like that's good. It should be good. But it quickly turns it like this is the hard thing. Like it quickly turns into if you're like a virtuoso keys player who's like studied and like put the 10,000 hours in, and then you happen to be in a room where nobody else is even remotely near your ability level. Like you're not getting anything out of that, and then you're not giving anything to that room. Like anything that you could give, apart from let's say the first 10, 15, you want to give some advice and you want to like, hey guys, let's kind of do this, but it's hard because it can really suck the air out of a situation if people are learning to play keyboard or keys, and you're the most amazing. That should be a lesson. That's not a jam anymore, and it's kind of neither person really benefits. But I've found it so much more beneficial if you've got at least somebody else in the room who you can kind of riff with, or if you can kind of stack the room with varying ability levels, but not super distant, because it's the same as being a pro tennis player. It's like, hey man, I just bought a tennis racket. Let's play. Like, I'm not gonna...
Yeah, but I think it's also there are a few things I believe that contribute to that balance. I think sometimes sometimes you find those people who want to jam and then they put this complex thing that nobody can take that complex thing and provide that as the backdrop for the other person to jam. For example, sometimes it's like simple 3-chord chords or whatever that makes an amazing jam because it's easy for anybody to take over, and also with the type of rhythm or whatever, you can inspire differently as well, because we're not all tuned to the same melodies in a way or rhythm, where you feel like you listen to something sometimes like, man, I feel like jamming on this one. And you go, and from the first note you're in tune, and you're, of course I'm saying this, you're probably with a lot of different music.
No, but you're right, but I just feel like you're talking about how jams should be. I probably gave a bad example, because I feel like jams are amazing in the sense that there is different ability levels there, right? And sure. Let's say somebody sets up, real simple, like jams always should be simple, and then you can get complex from the core of it, right? But one of the best, and that's songwriting, it's like nothing is a bad idea. Nothing is ever going to be a bad idea, because you might say something that you think's crappy, and then somebody goes ha ha ha, and you feel embarrassed about it, but then they go, oh, that actually gives me a really good idea, and you get a great idea out of it. Regardless, you either let it fly by like a bird, and you're just like not worried about the idea, and you laugh about it, or it actually inspires some other creativity. Yeah. And I think what you're talking about is the best thing about a jam is like somebody's created something that you actually wouldn't really have done. They've inspired something that you never would have done if you weren't in that room. So you're now jamming on you might be a jazz player, and you're now jamming on G, C, and D, which you never do, and you probably roll your eyes at. Yeah, but like in this instance, it's actually really good for you to do, and you get creative in that moment. You try and do different modes and stuff within it, and it's fantastic. But I guess like I guess I've had a couple of obviously some of the best experiences that I've had have been in jams, but also some frustrating experiences have been in jams, and it's been and it's not me who's been the best player, but it's like it's sometimes it's been me who just hasn't really got anything to contribute because I've been in a room full of like killer players, and you just feel like you're kind of squashing a vibe or whatever, and I'm sure it's probably not the case, but jams are just a really funny it's come up a lot lately for me is all, and that's probably why
but it's not necessarily, I mean, even if you're, I mean, I know exactly what you mean, where you go there, it's like, I'll just listen. But if the groove is happening and you're tuned in, you can make even like tuck, 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 tuck.
Everybody can still
and it'll still add to the fullness of the picture and the magic of it, I guess.
I think like live music, it's got to be the right setting. It's got to be the right room, the right humans in that room. You know, you can't have somebody who thinks they're better than everybody else, and who looks down on everybody else. Like that never works. You know, somebody who's, and that's not saying anything about an ability level. Like there's, you know, some of the most shredding players, you know, sit well in those kind of rooms and really help the vibe and be like, oh, see how you're rushing the beat there? Like give some nice little pointers and stuff, and it's kind of an open flow. But yeah, if you haven't got the right personality levels and stuff all situated, the volume and the sound and everything, like it can easily kind of break it.
You'd be the only person who's providing the landscape for other people to jam, then with your trying to jam, it's like, come on.
Or somebody hogs the solos away. It's just, you know, it's something everybody should experience.
No, I'm really happy that you went to Nashville. And how did that go? So you went to...
Still good. I've been living there 8 years. I'm still there.
Was it a contract that you just flew from here?
Just went
out of the blue?
Yeah, pretty much out of the blue. We so this is like 8 years ago we moved, but like 9 years ago we came up with the idea. Nice. And it was more and I had 2 kids at the time, so it's not like everything was easy. And we're like, yay, let's go. Like it was a big decision. And to be honest, and you know, anybody who's ever heard me talk about this knows Australia is my place. Like Australia is my home, and I love it. And you know, like I've traveled a lot around the world, but there's nowhere like Australia. And I just feel such a, you know, it's here in my heart. But there's a but, right? But it's, in comparison, the only way I can describe it is it's a small town versus a capital city.
Australia.
Australia is,
And rumors and bumping into people.
But that's all the great parts. Monopolies are tricky. The music scene and the creative arts scene is it's not dead. There's not, like, it's alive. It's alive, but there's I feel, and a lot of people in the industry just feel like there's really no or minimal support from the rest of the population, the government, like Australia itself. And that's not anyone's specific's fault or anything. There's 20 million people here in a massive country, you know, and you look at like somewhere like the US, you got 300 million more people.
Do you get help there?
Well, I get help in the sense that there's so many more people, there's so many more pigeonholes. So where I'm talking about is like, basically to summarize all of that, it's like in Australia you need to be this, or this. These are our options. These are our options to be commercial or mainstream genres or business-wise. businesses, kind of everything. It's just a smaller infrastructure. Like all it is saying we've got red, blue, and green. Whereas in the States, you're like, man, we got mauve, we got aqua, we got 100 million people to follow in all of those colors. You know, like whereas here it's like you can be mauve or you can be aqua, but it's like, but there's only actually 20 people in Melbourne that really respond to that. You know, and it's just so. My point is like my style of music, like I was doing a lot of cool stuff in Australia. I thought it was cool, but country radio.
What do you consider the style to be?
Well, so my stuff is kind of a cross between country, R&B, pop, and like singer-songwriter. Okay. So it's kind of a swinging, rolling genre between all of those three. And some songs are outright one of those genres. Some songs have all of them. I feel like we're more in a world that you don't have to decide which pigeonhole or which lane you're in. But the problem that I had with Australia is there's really only 3 radio markets, and there's really only 3. Like there's community and country, and there's pop, and there's like Triple J and kind of indie radio, right? And there's really there at the very least if there's. Yeah, but there's which main stations do hip hop? Like there's all of the genres. I'm saying there's all the genres in Australia, but like if you're not down the line fit perfectly in those 3 squares, then you're like me, and you just
different things but master of nothing.
Yeah, you can't be like. So I was in a position that we were able to actually speak to big representatives of those 3. Those 3 stations and those 3 kind of genre demographics here in Australia. And so, like, for example, Triple J said I was too country. Country radio said I was way too pop. And pop radio said I was way too indie, I'm too alternative.
Yeah, interesting.
So, like, they were like, we love it, but we can't play it. Like, each of the stations, each of the demographics, each of the, like, was that, whereas... When I went to the States, like when I went there to write and all of that, I played shows. People got it. There was an audience there. There was people there was stations there. There were like they have Triple A, which is like adult contemporary and kind of like a revised pop, like And then they've got like pop country and they've got rock country and they've got indie, but they've got variations of indie and college radio and stuff. And so it's. It was the States thing was just the right move, and it's not like I can't find my space in Australia, but it can't be the primary. Yeah,
a space for you.
That's right. Yeah. It's got to be the secondary. Yeah. I've got to come in the side door for Australia, whereas like my main demographic, my main income and touring and dates and festivals and shows and whatever are all in the States.
Gotcha.
And then I come to Australia and I'm able to be myself, and I don't feel like I need to sacrifice who I am and my quality and my genres and stuff so that I fit into a mold, which nobody should ever have to do.
I think it's great. I've been watching what you do, and it's always so you just do you.
Yeah.
And it's there's nothing better than let people be who they really are versus just copy. So you the States. I mean. That's sort of I can understand what you're saying from the music industry.
Yeah.
That it is better in the States from a point of view that you have a wider variety and more acceptance to different things.
Yeah.
But economically, it seems like here, it's like you have the support if you don't have a job, you get paid something, and also if you're something happens to you. It's like you're looked after, you get fixed or whatever. Where the States is, you have to buy your insurance.
Oh yeah.
If you're without a job, you're SL shit out of luck.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
So how is that? How did you deal facing that and looking at that side of it?
I wasn't focused on the barely making it.
Yeah. All right.
I wasn't focused on losing, and like it was. Eminem says it. Pretty great. It's oh man, I'm blanking on his song lyric, but failure was no option. Like it's success is my only option, failure's not.
Nice.
So that said, it really kicks you into gear especially in my position, whereas I had a wife and 2 children, and I have a wife and 2 kids, and 2 mortgages and cars and all of that, and everything's a single income, and it's like I know my safety net would be in Australia. It is better in Australia, I guess, but that safety net is very low to the ground, and which is fine, but I have desires, and I feel like my passion kind of responds well to people, and I want to, like anybody else, I want it to be as successful. I want to be able to get my music out as far and wide as I possibly can, and I want to be the guy playing all original shows, to a bunch of people like anybody else. And really, the cool thing about me doing the States thing is it's actually opened up nicer opportunities for me in Australia. It means when I'm back here, I usually come back a few times a year now, and when I'm back here, I don't have to freak out and hurry up and hook up gigs to make an income. I can come back more comfortable, and I can just do more ticketed shows, just do a few larger shows, ticketed shows, and kind of focus on just giving them everything I got. And then I'll go back to the States and I'll keep doing that over there, and then when I come back to Australia, I'm not oversaturating the market, my fans here. I'm not playing every weekend or every month even. I'm playing in each location, like each region, maybe a couple times a year, or once maybe twice a year, and that's enough for me to really reach out to fans and friends and say, come on, man, come out to my gig. Like, I'm only playing once. Like, make an effort. And they do,
I'm sorry, did you get to your gig in the local one up in...
Oh, dude, don't worry. Like, I get it. Look, I get it.
I live like in Kinkin.
That's right.
I don't leave home for like weeks, seriously.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I came early today, and I passed by already Woolies, Aldi's, and probably pick something in the way back home. And I'm
happy to give you an experience, like an excuse to come out and do some groceries, man.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, it's hard. I get it. When I was 20, I didn't want to be in the house, but now, like, that's my comfort space. But also because I'm never here. Like, I don't get as much of a chance to see, especially when I'm touring, or if I'm out of town or in a different country. I don't get a chance to see my wife and kids all the time, and friends and catch-ups, and I don't get a chance to sit on the couch and watch TV. Yeah. Like, I don't. And so the few times that I do, I inhale, and or I'll read a book, or I'll watch a good episode of something with my wife, and then we'll go to bed. Like, and it's a nice hour. It's like 9:30, and it feels good, and I feel refreshed because I get a full night's sleep, and I'm not worried about stuff, and I'm around the people I love, and but I'm able to do that because the flip side of that is me being through 3 different cities each day and doing constant flights, across the water, and playing shows and land there and travel there, play the gig, set up, pack up, whatever, and it's like, and then do a podcast episode, and then do it but I wouldn't have it any other way. The way that I'm able to do it is like really compartmentalize, focus, work hard, so I'm able to take a little bit of time out every now and then to play golf,
nice.
Or pickleball, or like.
And finding a rhythm that you're comfortable with is extremely important, hey?
Yeah.
And it's it's for us guys, it's very easy to get into that and enjoy it forever. To find something. Yeah. You're not chasing, doing whatever it is.
Yeah.
Content.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, some people, they once they get into a rhythm, they get bored, and they look so, they get too itchy. And I think it's the lack of understanding that contentment is within versus chasing it out there. You have the family, you have the kids. You realize how important to enjoy each phase of those, because you can only have it one time. Yeah. Those kids are going to be that age only one time. So it's really, I admire people who take that time to focus and be part of what they've created. Otherwise, you're always living for something that's not quite manifesting because you're chasing. Yeah.
The flip side of that, though, too, is like, I'm conflicted when, like, I've got 2 kids, a daughter and a son, Goldie and Alto, and then 9 and 10, soon to be 9 and 11. And they're my world. And so is my wife. Like, they are my absolute world. And part of me wants to quit everything. Like, a very small part of me. Like, I wouldn't do that. But part of me fantasizes about quit everything and I'll just be with them. Like, there'll be something, like, I'll be able to get a job, like, locally or whatever, and we'll just be happy. Like, we'll live in the house and eat and be great. But then also, the bigger part of me says I have a passion and I have something that I've been blessed with that I can share with the world, that people have benefited far more than I ever could have dreamed, even now where my career is, from my music. That it's made it a point of, like, I feel like I have to do this because this song saved somebody's life, or this song saved a marriage, or this song saved this, or this song meant this to this person. Who's to say what's more important or whatever? But all I know is my song did that, and the joy that I get from providing that is incredible. Now, when I relate that to trying to be a good human and a good dad to my kids, I want to be the guy that follows through on something that I believe in. And I don't want them to sit, like, the reason that I don't do the option A, which is like quit everything, be home and be with them, is because I know if I did that, that's kind of a way of me giving up. This is my personal scenario, right? That's kind of me giving up on my dream, my passion, and what I'm good at and what I can provide to the world. And so I don't want them to see somebody doing that. And they get, it's fantastic because we've had the most amazing, I've had the most amazing conversations with my kids about that. And they get behind me just like my wife gets behind me. And they see what I'm doing, they contribute, they help out, and they go, what if you did this? What if the song was about this? Oh, that would, and they resonate. Like, they're at a really nice age now that I can have conversations with them about what songs mean. And this isn't my songs, sometimes it is, but most of the time it's about, a Taylor Swift song or a Bailey Zimmerman song or whatever. And my daughter's so into the lyrics of that, and she's like, they're singing about my life is this. And they're 9 and 10, or 9 and 11. And they're like, music is such an impactful thing on their lives. And so I guess what I'm saying is, like, they see how important music is to them. And they now see me as a creator of music. And how important music is to them is why they also support me in creating music, knowing that my music is as important to other people as music is to them. So they see the full circle inertia of that, right? And so they're involved, and that's why it's actually, like, we're able to make, like, there's times that I won't see him for a month, and I try not to let that happen often, but I'll
in the same house, or you travel by yourself to get the
sometimes they travel with me, and I mean, I'm excited to, like, because of my music, I'm able to provide them with travel opportunities along with myself. So, for example, May this year, they're coming with me. We're doing a tour through Athens, through Greece, Malta, Sicily, Mykonos, just like, it's going to be incredible. And so we're going to be there. They're going to be there for like 9 days, traveling through and playing a bunch of shows, and that's all part of this cause tour that we're doing. We do every year. Go to a different location, and I'm able to bring my family on that, and they cover it all. Like, they cover bringing my family. I cover the cost of the flights, but outside of that, it's incredible, And so I'm able to bring my family and experience that with my family, and then because of the tour and because of how well it's received by music lovers, they are involved in that community. Like, I know how important, outside of performing, how important music is to me. And so they get to receive music in that same way. They get to see it from inception, and they get to see other people receiving it the same way and kind of bond within that. So it's just this really beautiful thing that, creative arts and anything creative is like, is kind of a real peacemaker. You know,
Yeah, I
as
mean,
well.
it's great to have the kids involved with you in regardless of whatever it is that you do. I mean, the old times, I guess, like tribes or whatever, it's like if they're planting, they probably the kids help with something. They're involved with the parents. Where now it's like, it's such a
they don't even know what the parents do.
yeah, or they're knowing what the kids are doing or what they're being taught in school.
Yeah.
And some schools they're trying not to let you know, in the States and here. It's like certain, some of what they teach, which is, but but I see it as like, it's embedded in us. A man's role, I guess, is supposed to be the protective, you looking after things, you taking the whole family as your responsibility, and so. You just focus on what you need to do to provide that. And you said like the option A, you wouldn't go with the option A, which is quit that and take a job and spend it with the kids. Well, doing the job is going to be like doing music in a way, where it's going to take your time away. Yeah. So I didn't quite get when you say let go of everything unless you're filthy rich and you can afford it. You'll be doing something you may not like to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Bring the money and support the family.
Yeah.
Where you're doing what you like to do. Sounds like you're making money, you're able to travel, you're able to afford things, and able to support your family. And they're involved with what you do.
Yeah.
It's like we have a field out there that we're planting things and checking the plants, and kids look at the plants, and they're involved with that, which is beautiful.
Especially if they see that you're interested in that. If it's something that's like pumping you up and not deflating you, like there must be like. I mean, I'm lucky. I've got like my parents. Like my dad's a builder, and he's retired now. But he's a builder. Like so many. Like that's a tough job, and I like ever since I was a little kid, like I was involved on job sites and stuff with that. But that's one of those classic jobs that you just see. Anybody in that like construction field, or almost any field you can insert here. But like my experience was seeing my dad come home at like 7 o'clock at night. Like he left before any of us were even up in the morning, and he's wrecked and he's just working his ass off. Like, and he's absolutely spent. But it's easy to just be like, oh, I hate my job. Mm-hmm. It's like I gotta go do this, I gotta put this suit on, and I gotta go, and I'm not interested in it. I was lucky that my dad had a lot of pride in his work, so even though it was definitely a job and it was hard, he would never cut a corner. He would always like redo it if it wasn't right, and it just shows like even after like 40 years or whatever of him being in that industry, like I've been like recently before he retired, like. It's something that doesn't even matter, like a piece of plaster, like, when you're plastering or whatever, just a little bit of a dent. There it's like, you're going to paint it, nobody's really going to see it. He's like, no, do another cut. Like, even still, like he's been doing 40 years of like, no, do it right, do it right, do it right. And that's still, it's like, I fell in love with him even more when he was doing that, because I'm like 40 years in and he's still got so much pride in his work that it's going to be done properly, and he cares about it. Like he actually cares about it. But like, there's a lot of kids that have parents that roll their eyes every morning because they got to go to their job and they ironically put their clothes on and slap some makeup on, or like not even do their hair or don't shave or whatever, and it's like they just go and they just like, what's the time? It's 5:01. Let's get out of here, kind of thing. And it's like, I understand some people need to do the grind, but. And it's not available to everybody to just up and change their job or whatever, and it's like, that's not lost on me. But from a kid's perspective, it's a rough thing to see. And it's we could all agree at the very least that it's something that we all want our kids to see a parent who's doing what they love, or who at least cares about what they do and sees value in the work that they do, that they're excited to go and contribute. We want positive affirmations, and we want like a positive, contribution to society and stuff. We want kids to see that and strive for that.
But I think it's part of the system as well. It's like, when I first started IT work, I remember I used to do field service and service word processor. What's a word processor? It wasn't a piece of software. It was software and hardware. It was like a whole computer that just did word processing. That was like the days of the PC and PC XT, long time ago, like DOS time.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But then we moved into computers, and then me in the field for all this time, and I'm noticing, wow. So those people who used to do word processing, now they're doing all kind of things, and they're still pushed by the system to do more. It's always about doing more. It's never a status quo.
Yeah.
It's not like, hey, everybody's happy, we're all cool, we're making the profit, we have a good team here, well, let's have a blast. No, it's like, it's always go up. And I think it just brings you stress and anxiety to families, but that's not their concern. I think if it's beautiful seeing healthy family, and I admire you guys. It's beautiful, and it's every family that I see that where you have like that connection. That's what we need, because otherwise we can, we miss out in our lives. We get tricked by the mainstream this and mainstream that, and you end up being spread so thin that you don't notice how much. I mean, before I became 50, it's like in the 40s. At some point, it's like, you get the feeling it's like, wow, I'm doing. I mean, yeah, you changes, promotions, little whatever, but you notice that there is a loop. And it's like, what are you doing? One day you need to, get out of that. And so I put like, when I get to about 50, I need to get out of that. And, I had beautiful benefits. I had a good job, all set, staff, and it bothered a lot of people that I took off, because but it had to be done, because I knew I was compromising. We all need to be able to provide to our families and live. And unfortunately, the way it's set up, it's not. You're lucky. You got in the music something you love. Your kids can relate to. You have that connection, and you support from the wife, as a family. It's a good thing. But you're lucky. You're not lucky, but blessed. Or sometimes I feel like I look back at my life and I feel certain things have been falling into place in a certain way that I feel like, wow, thank you. It could have been this or that, but it's things are like in a groove, like a jam, and it's working out.
Yeah, I think I like your circle analogy, like people going around in circles, and but I like everybody's got a different circle, and I feel like all you can do. I'm just thinking out loud in this bit, but I feel like all you can do is jump from circle to circle. If your circle isn't filling you up, you can find a new circle, find a new rhythm, and that rhythm is going to be different, or rhythm at least. That rhythm is going to be different for everybody. Some people love the repetition, so some people okay, I'm going to go to work at this time, and I do a good job, and I enjoy my job, and I come home and I see my family, and on the weekends we go to there, and every summer we go camping there, and we have a caravan, and we do this, and we go fishing, and every Friday night it's boys' night or whatever the deal is. And they love that. They love that, looking forward to Friday or looking forward to Sunday. Every Sunday has big family dinner, or we do whatever it is. And for a lot of people, I think probably more, the majority of people kind of respond well to that. Sometimes because they have to, and there's no really other choice, so they just accept it and evolve into it. And some people just default to naturally want that. But I feel like when you insert...
And that's the pressure that I was saying that the system pushes on.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I
said,
agree.
What other option?
I agree. You could even get talking into things how deliberate was alcohol inserted into it to talk about, look forward to the weekend for, numbing stuff so you can get through your life and whatever, it's everybody's relationship is different with that stuff.
Absolutely.
But my point is, let's say your circle or your rhythm is, I go to work and I do this, and it's like, this is my schedule, for example, right? But then there's an emotional rhythm, and the emotional rhythm has to be, I give and receive love on this day more because I see my family more, and then I give my, I invigorate my brain maybe more during this day because this is my work day, so I'm stretching this, and then I'm doing more of a physical activity on the Saturday because that's sports, and then I'm like, so they're integrating all of their like emotional and physical needs as a human being in their cycle, right? But for some people, their need for physical movement is stronger than their need for brain flex, or the need for love is stronger than the need for their passion for like technology or their job or whatever it is. So you get like, that's just being a human, I think. That's where you see where you see people that work 2 days a week and they spend all their time with their family and they love it and they never change a thing, and good on them. Like, they've found their rhythm. That's their rhythm. The counter to that, not a counter to that, I guess the counter to that would be somebody who loves their job so much that they sacrifice family time.
That's true.
That's their rhythm.
That's true.
Who are we to say that's the right way or the wrong way? Like, we disagree with it because...
Well, it depends on how you perceive life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like your circle, everything's a Venn diagram, but your circle is going to weigh, hypothetically, is going to weigh more towards, your loved ones and your family over playing tennis. But some people's life revolves almost all around playing tennis, and they fit their family in around their tennis schedule, and that's how they want to do. And so, like, it's so easy to have disagreements with each other's circles.
It's great.
Right.
But it's
based
great
on,
to have that.
It should be. Yeah, it should be. But it's also because, I would never do like, that's right. That's why you don't live like that. Like, I'm not into tennis as much as you're into tennis. I love my family more than your desire for whatever. But my circle is keeps evolving. I feel like everybody's does, but some people, I think, have a desire to extend like a competitive nature in one of those areas. And so I guess if you insert competitiveness into family, that doesn't really make sense. Like, how can I be more loving? Like, how can I be more... I'm the best parent. You're like, that's kind of... You can't get competitive with that. Sports you can get competitive with. And I feel like work is something you can get competitive with. And if you're a personality that's always wanting to up the game, like, that's your desire, is like, you might be a scientist, or you might be somebody on the brink of technology or whatever, and instead of just like, tech's working great, you know what? I've got a word processor. It's processing, like, it's doing its job. Whereas, like, that person in that job, there's somebody in that job who's like, yeah, but how can we make it more efficient? Like, they're not doing it. There's always somebody doing it based off pressure for somebody else requiring that of your job. But it's probably all coming from somebody who's just got a passion about, like, refining or revising, or getting a better process, or getting a more compact system, or like, I know I get like that. Instead of talking about an analogy, I'll give you a direct example. Me with technology, with looping and performing, my whole setup constantly evolves with me wanting to experiment more with something, and it all comes from a creative space. And like, me wanting to get a better baseline, or a more efficient way of laying that down without taking so much time, so I can spend more time performing instead of staring at the guitar laying down a baseline. So, or something's going to make the sound better, so I'm going to experience such a better show because the audio is going to be a better quality. So I'm interested, like, at finding the dialing in that tone, or finding in like a different configuration of pedals, or a different way to play that song.
But it's just polishing a product.
Polishing a product.
You're being like your dad. You're trying to make it,
that's
finesse
right.
and all.
But that's part of my circle, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So if I didn't have, like, some people are happy with, like, that's my job. So some people are happy with go to work, lift those boxes, put them over there, done. And they're like, sweet, I want to do a monotonous task until it's done, and then I'm finished my job. Whereas I can't stand monotonous tasks.
Of course.
I want to, like, I'm a creative kind of person, so my monotonous...
I don't know if anybody who would like to just move boxes all day.
I don't know, some people don't want to think about it.
I think age plays a role. I mean,
maybe.
I feel when at a certain age, there's the ability of absorption, and it's a good time to teach those kids that age, certain, until you get, you get that intake. I consider it just phases. You come to a point where, you got taught as much as possible from your surrounding, and it's time to leave the village to grow, to find, tackle, get a job, whatever. Of course, you're going to end up learning more because you're not quite established. But once you conquer whatever it is, you get to my age, 65, I'm not inspired to dig into, when something is, I need to figure out because it's bothering me, and I'll put all the time and deal with it. But it's
well, you've been burning your circle in.
I've been, but I think it has to do probably with age and being able to afford it. I paid for the security of a pension. 30 years. But it's hard for those who don't have that. I mean, Matthew, my son, he's 25.
Yeah.
So he went through learning, and he's been always an A student. So it's like he's a very good guy. So it's like you can't, I try not to say no to anything because he's like, full on,
Yeah.
So you see that learning curve. He came to Australia, and he had a certain ideas of how to live, until he made it down to Tassie. Now he's back in uni. As long as you have a spark and you're able to, follow through.
Yeah.
Good on him. He's like digging in and learning further. I think those phases are important as well. How much you're patient with things, how much you're content being where you are versus chasing, looking for something. And sometimes it's just as you drill and you get deep into something, like with your equipment or whatever, you want that sound, so you're going to figure out how you do it.
Yeah.
And you don't compromise. I see that how you do things. It's very beautiful to watch. Yeah.
Thanks, man. Yeah. I mean, you don't compromise because you know that there's I don't compromise because I know that I can't find the answers. So it's like, it's just a matter of hurry up and get it done. Hurry up and find it,
But I was saying earlier about, like, it's important that we have disagreements in general.
I think it's important conversations.
I think it's more of, if you think you don't have a blind spot, then you're kidding yourself.
Yeah.
Everybody has this blind spot.
Yeah.
And thank God that it's different from one to one. So somebody can tell you, hey, you got a bat in the cave, or because you can't see it. It's a blind spot.
Yeah.
And that's where it seems there's a lot of in the recent years a lot of virtue signaling that you more of like promoting an ideology versus expressing those different perspectives that bring up the different blind spots.
Yeah.
Of course, none of us have the same perspective. Actually, we all have a different perspective on everything, almost. It's
I like disagreements and conversation. Like, in conversation, I think we should have more conversations. Like, instead of, how crazy. Like, if we verbalized everything we typed in conversation, wouldn't that be interesting? Like if you think of I've dug in deep on social media in the last year, pretty much. Like, I've been on either side of a generation in music that came before social media and now I've been playing music for like over 20 years, and like I'm coming into where people have been playing music for 6 months and their social media numbers have absolutely blown up, but now they can't play on a stage, but they have millions of fans, you know, and then vice versa. You got people who can deliver the best show that you'll ever see, but they don't have a Facebook account or an Instagram account or whatever. And so I'm like trying to navigate like, okay, well, I'm in the game, and I'm committing and whatever. But like, with all of those online, everybody's a keyboard warrior, everybody like interacts socially differently now, and can't have a conversation. And so if you think about, you know, when people say they have an opinion, right? Let's say somebody has an opinion on something and they put a post up about it. Like, the disagreements, or the like, how dare you? It's like, dude, why did you think I meant it like that? Like, that's the most crazy, like, version of that, you know, that you think, like, I was just talking about this. Like, why did you jump to assuming that I meant the worst possible variation of that sentence? And it's like, if you think about, like, people being in an elevator or something, and it's like, oh, it's a nice day, isn't it? It's like, what the what do you mean it's a nice... It's like, can't you understand, like, my like, I meant, like, it's a nice day, right? I didn't say that ironically. I didn't say that deliberately, that I'm defending you or aggressing you or whatever. Like, we just need to have more conversations assuming that they meant the thing,
and we hear
that was the nice thing, and or politely correcting somebody if they didn't use the right verbiage, or if whatever, like, you know, it's...
I don't know that recently it's been like for, you know, maybe a year, a couple of years, whatever. I feel like, I don't know if it was before the woke movement or during or whatever, but yeah, it's like you express something and it's like, or you quote somebody. I was like, he's an idiot. It's like, okay, do you have a disagreement with a quote? Yeah. I mean, it's like, why are you getting personal?
Yeah.
You know, so,
and you're talking about a fact, like, you're not talking about an opinion.
I'm not, you know, it's like, I don't agree with anybody 100%. And I'm sure of it. Yeah. I don't agree with anybody 100%. It's always like variation. You know, it's like they use the non-binary now with a lot of things, you know, this is where I feel like it's a bit weird. But in judgment of things, I'm very non-binary. Yeah. Because I tend to, you know, see it from the other person's perspective. It's like, why do you say it like that? And then I try to see how, you know, versus right away it's like, oh no, this is shit. Yeah. You know, that happens even with good friends of mine. You know, you put something, you know, about whatever, it's like, oh, that's stupid. It's like, well, you're sitting on a high horse there. Let me not bother you. You know, I mean, you know, it's
context too, because like some people are having a bad day, some people don't know enough about a topic, and they just something, and you go, whoa, you have no idea what you're talking about, or have you thought about this? And you know, like instead of
saying, what do you
taking
mean?
conversation,
or
exactly.
The next step.
Well, what do you mean by that? Like elaborate.
Well,
have you thought of this?
You know?
Like they go, what? Fuck me, fuck you. Like it's just so like aggressive.
I don't get it, dude. So is it recent or is it always been like
No,
that?
I think it's just been progressively getting
worse.
Yeah, like I
it's like that hate speech is now like it's always like something you just
it's very
it's hate speech.
and people do it deliberately, like not even actually being hateful, like they do it deliberately to get comments and stuff. But like I had a weird exchange, and it just kind of changed my perspective. It didn't change my perspective, but it made me think a lot more about this. And it was like I had a guy who makes rings out of Australia. I was in the States at the time, and he's like, I'm going to make you a ring. Like, I see you wear cool rings. I'm going to make you one and carve you one up, and it's out of porcelain, and it's got a stone in it, and it's red because you like red, and what are you going to name it? And I thought, oh, it's, you know, I'm from Australia. Australia's in my heart, like heart's central, red ring. Like I'm thinking Ayers Rock, and so I'm like, oh, I kind of want to name it Ayers Wock, like this is my name, you know, Ayers Wock or whatever, and I kind of just said that, and you know, people laughed, there's comments and cool name or whatever, and then there was a couple of comments that were like, how dare you like blast, like it was the most like angry, and the problem is I didn't realize that I offended anybody, right? And so I realize now that, like, you know, the traditional name is not Ayers Rock, you know, and then also it's I'm playing off, like, I realize where I went wrong. Like, I'm playing off a name from the traditional owners of that land, not using the name, and playing a spin-off with my own name against something that's, you know, like, it's not okay. But the point is, the way that I found out about it was basically metaphorical guns pointed at my forehead, right? And so instead of that, what I'm saying is, like, it would have been nice for somebody to just send me a DM and say, hey, I don't know if you realize that this is actually not really, you know, that it's not really the right thing to do, and here's why. And somebody did after those comments, and I'm so thankful for that, because that's the conversation that I feel like should happen. And then and immediately, like, I put up a post, like, apologizing and saying I was wrong. I didn't think about it like this. Thank you for the person who reached out and had an actual conversation with me to, like, bring me up to speed. But that's something that I went through, and that now I understand, and now I'm not going to make the same mistake, and I'm going to be more, you know, more open and more, you know, just more in touch with that topic, right? And so I feel like now, especially with, you know, identifiers and everything, like, that's fine. You live your life how you want to. You identify how you want to. But it's like, but I feel like people, you know, you see the constant, like, you know, they, them, or, you know, identifies as.
Did you deal with that a lot?
No, I don't know. I got a lot of friends who were everything and whatever. But, like, you see people who sit down and they order a coffee, and somebody goes, yes, what would you like, ma'am? It's like, how dare you? I don't identify as a man. It's like, that's not an attack. They're just trying to get your coffee order. Like, all you need to do is just say, oh, you know, can you please address me, like, my identifier is this. Like, if that's important to you, like for me, and this is, like, it's I don't care what you call me. Like, it's not really a problem for me, but that doesn't mean that I should assume that everybody else feels the same the way that I feel.
Whatever it is, you're saying, hey, bro, or whatever, you know, you can even use.
But just because it's not important to me doesn't mean it's not important to everybody. So even though I'm like, it's not a big deal, why is everybody feeling big? It is a big deal to some people. Like, it's a really, really big deal to some people, and it's wrong of me to assume that it's not a big deal just because I don't feel like it's a big deal to me. You know, if somebody messes up, or if somebody calls me something that I don't like or whatever, like, I would just, it's not as important to me, so I just go, hey, do you mind not calling me that, or can you please call me this instead? Whereas, like, to some people, they really feel threatened by it. But there's a difference between going, how dare you, you know, and just saying, hey, would you mind please doing this? You know, and, like, it's just, again, it just comes back to conversations. Like, so often people assume you mean the worst possible version of what you just said, or what you just posted, or what you whatever. And, like, I feel like people just need to have more conversations. You know, I mean, race and sex and, like, all of these things are, like, so much more.
Everything is cultish. Everything is cultish.
Everything is cultish. You know,
unfortunately, which I think steals from us. The real life. You know.
And it's hard too, because what's even real now? I mean, like, everybody's doing, like, dude was filming himself ordering a coffee so they could get a post. So that they could post it to say, you know, like, what's real anymore? Like, I mean, what do you want from that exchange? You know, it's just kind of like, what do you? I don't know.
I mean, I know for you, it's a way to live, to get the clicks, and I you know, of course, you got to do what you need to do. You share a lot of beautiful things, so there is a reason for it. But I think it's just it's a world of egos. Just how, you know, it's like, look at me, and it's hard to not be judgmental. To be honest, looking at I don't like to judge, but it's like, I mean, it's like all day, you know, it's like. It's just, what are we building? What are we creating in ourselves? What are we raising, or, you know, we're feeding, nurturing? Yeah.
But it's hard because also you get rewarded. Like there's rewards for it's
more people
you
say,
know,
"Yay!"
Well, yeah, I mean,
Okay.
somebody has a viral post, and you get,
Yeah.
and regardless how bad it is or how cringeworthy it is or whatever,
Yeah.
it's you get rewarded for it. You either get paid for it because
That's
it's a
true.
viral post,
That's true.
or you get more followers and you get product endorsements or whatever. It's like you get rewarded for that, and so you can agree with that or not, but
Yeah.
it's the
It
truth,
is what it is.
right?
Yeah.
So really, the only way around it is to not be able
Do
to
what?
go viral.
Do
And
you?
like that just means that yeah, exactly. But
Do you?
that means that you're saying, okay, anything that's cringeworthy, we all agree that whatever Instagram are permitted to flatten it. And it's like, well, then
What do
you're
you mean?
giving,
What do you mean?
like, I mean, if like a viral post on Instagram or like TikTok, for example, like if somebody,
Well, it deflated a little bit from
yeah,
there,
like
so-
if something that's like you know, somebody who identifies as is you know her, you know, gets called sir or whatever on a thing, like that post is like staged or set up or like deliberately messed with, and that's a viral post,
Yeah.
right? And then they get rewarded, like the person gets rewarded from doing the cringeworthy post of them like baiting stuff and all of that. If we all agree that we don't like the fact that that happens, right? The baiting of somebody doing something and doing a made up post or a whatever. If we all agree that, then it's like, okay, let's all vote to say TikTok are allowed to squash that. Well, then you're saying you're giving control subjectively
Yeah.
across everybody.
Which, yeah,
Which
I'm not
that
into.
doesn't make sense.
No.
Like that's not
I
right.
am
So
very
the lesser of
frustrated.
two evils is let everybody
Yeah.
be themselves and
That's
do
right.
whatever, and whatever goes viral goes
Yeah,
viral.
yeah, yeah.
Whatever happens out of that happens.
Yeah, yeah.
And so like and then I feel like personally with like all the social media stuff, the only thing that I can control is how genuine I can be, and I feel like people more than ever, like through a lens especially, can see if you're being honest, telling the truth, if you're being an extension of your personality or a genuine human, or you have something that you just
Self-promoting.
you genuinely want. Yeah, are you like talking smack, or are you promoting a product, or are you just having a nice message to somebody, or are you
Yeah,
playing a beautiful song, or have something to share and create? And like people now are less used to this and more used to this, and like being able to articulate what's real and what's fake and whatever. So my whole goal with it is to just be as authentic as I possibly can be. If I screw up, you're going to see that I'm screwing up, and I'm going to poke fun at myself or whatever about it, or talk about it or whatever. And I feel like people really respond to something that's raw.
Yeah.
And so even though it's on a phone screen, like that's the language that we speak
yeah.
now. And so like I don't know if that's the truth, if that's the way to do it or not, but that's the way I'm trying to do it. So,
Well, you're controlling what you can control. You
Yeah.
can't do anything about what you can't control.
Yeah.
I mean, with Facebook and others, you know, it's like it is frustrating for me to have, you know, to see somebody else is shaping, you know, the who sees what I put and who doesn't.
yeah.
And you know, they just have certain assumptions, certain algorithms to sort of group people together or whatever. It's like, who are you? You know, it's just I think it defeats the whole freedom of speech thing. You notice that quite a bit in the States. I mean, the reason I'm smiling and all that is because what attracted me to go to the States, I remember I was like a little kid in Egypt, and I remember seeing an American young woman. She was, I'm sure, a mother, and the way they were talking, how it was free. I don't know if
Yeah.
you noticed the difference between Aussies and Americans.
Yeah.
Right? And of course, you have like, you know, if you're, you know, you grow up with free speech and you speak free, it's going to be up to your upbringing of how you handle that, because you can look like shit, you know, just being belligerent with free speech, or you have manners and you have some sort of etiquette in how you deal with
Yeah.
things, which is it would carry into the social media and the internet as well. But yeah, how did you like that part of it in the States? Did you notice it or no?
Not really. I mean, coming from Australia, like people can be themselves pretty well and have their own opinions and, you know, formulate stuff. Something I noticed with, it's tough. Between countries, you really need to, like, acknowledge that things between, like, the population has a massive impact on anywhere you are in the world. So, for example, I'm thinking about, like, laws in countries and what you can do and what you can't do, and, like, and school systems and all of these things. And it's like, well, being from Australia and living in the States, I'm like, oh man, I wish they did the thing, like this thing that we do in Australia here in America. Or I wish they did this thing in America.
What is an example?
Like, so an example in the States, for example, right, is you drive on the other side of the road, but let me Australianize this, right? Or it doesn't matter. Okay,
wait a minute.
Never mind. So you're driving, right?
Uh-huh.
So you drive on the right, etc. So when you're in a set of red lights, you turn right. You're turning from the right lane into the right lane. You're not cutting across traffic.
That's right.
You're doing the shortest distance turn possible. Right. In America, the law is, if you're at a red light, unless it's signed otherwise, you can turn right at any time, but without right of way. So as long as there's nobody coming, and you give way,
yield.
Right? You have to stop, but you can turn right at any time with a red light. The best rule ever. Because like
you don't have that here.
No, you don't have that in Australia.
True.
Like you can't turn. Like if it's a red light, it's a red light. You can't go. And like as somebody who travels a lot, it's so frustrating when there's no one near there. And usually, if you're turning onto a side road or whatever, like you're the least most priority lane. So you know if there's one car waiting there, then you could be waiting for like 2 or 3 minutes just to turn right there. You know. So anyway. That's one small example of like, I wish we did something like that. In America, drive-through ATMs. Like, most of the time, anybody wants to go to an ATM in Australia, they just want to, you got to find a park, you got to, like, you're in a shopping center or a shopping mall complex or whatever, they got to drive through ATMs, right? There's a couple of cool examples. But the way that the Australian traffic setup is very like, I mean, look at how many police cars are on the road. Like they'll zap you if you do 1K over the limit, or like people who've got parking tickets for like leaving their windows cracked down an inch or whatever. Like
what
I know, like because you're supposed to have them all wound up. Like it's
because I usually
crazy.
Do. Are you saying this is illegal?
It's illegal.
In Australia.
Or it was. At the very least was. Like, I know 2 people who've got a ticket. One of them went to court.
I like to leave a crack for the heat.
Exactly. Like, I don't understand it. But Australia are very quick to fix something by preventing it. Right? And so I'm not saying the crack thing, I got nothing to say about that.
Yeah.
But, like, the speeding thing is like, oh, we had 2 fatalities on this road last year, so we're going to drop the speed limit by 10.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me, like, I don't know if that's going to help, but it's good to see that they're seeing a problem and they're finding a solution. Whereas the thing that happens in the States is nothing.
Before you continue to the States, do you feel that quick change is usually to have it looser or more restrictive?
Oh, always more restrictive.
Of course.
Always more restrictive.
We're happy to go there.
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't know if that's a good thing.
My problem, and I could be wrong, but from my perspective, it seems like we need to do something because something bad's happened, so we need to be seen to be doing something about it. Yeah. So what can we do? I don't know, let's just do that.
Yeah.
And so I see that a lot with like noise pollution and liquor licensing and stuff. Like, and I can rant hard about that. But the way I
remember at the key bar with the
dude,
decibel
it's ridiculous. There's venues that are required to have live music lower than the volume we're speaking in this room, and it's not. No, it should just be no live music there. It's not fit. Like, nobody deserves to sit in the corner of a room, especially if they're great, and you can't even hear them. I literally I had a gig yesterday, and I went and saw my friends play with down the street, Mo Swagger, amazing, Jesse and Dwight. They're an amazing duo, right? Like I'm sure anybody on the sunny coast has seen them. They're great. We were sitting 10 meters away from them, and I could hear the music, but I could not understand. Apart from knowing the song, I couldn't hear any specific guitar note. I could hear that he was strumming, and I could hear Jesse singing, but I could not hear the words. I could just, I was essentially good humming along because I'm like, oh, I know this song, it's an Oasis song, or it's a Tracy Chapman song, or whatever, and it's like, I knew the song that they were playing, but it's like the volume was so low that somebody was it's as if somebody had it loud in the car and you were standing outside the car. You're like, I think they're playing this song. Like, that's bullshit. That's bullshit. Like,
what kind of a place was it? I mean, it was
called the Doonan, right? And this isn't on them. Like, this has got nothing. Like, I'm sure they're abiding by their requirements. Like, then it's not like, oh, dude, they need to turn it up. It's like, we're not allowed to turn it up. We're at max volume that we're allowed to be. Like, that's 101 Australian live music venues. And the problem is like, and here's what I think the reason is Australia, we have 30 million people. And so if you have a noise complaint, right, what used to happen and what happens in the States and most other countries is like, hey, the music's way too loud. Hey, officer or the police or whoever you call, the music's way too loud. I'd like to make a complaint. And then they go, okay, we'll send somebody down there to check it out. And they send somebody down there and they go, you're right, the music was way too loud, so we got them to turn it down. Or there was an official complaint, they got a mark against their name, the music was too loud. Or they go down and they go, they're closed. The music you're talking about was from a party down the street, from somebody's house or whatever, and they validate it. Whereas a while ago, Australia having 300 million less people, the funding for an acoustic licensing committee isn't available. So liquor licensing and other people got involved with, okay, now it's your job. So I was like, dude, we're busy doing this. Like, we don't have, so there's no infrastructure for anybody to validate it. So I can literally be, I can get on my phone now and call the police in Perth and just pick a venue and say, hey, the Western Australian hotel is super loud, I can't hear, and I live next door, or whatever. And instead of sending somebody there to check it, they'll just be like, oh man, okay, put a mark down as they've had a complaint made, and then they get enough of those, and basically
it can be anonymous.
Yeah, it's anonymous or whatever, and they'll end up just dropping the noise restriction at that venue. They won't check it or whatever, and because Australia's so eager to like, oh, we'll get right on it, we'll do something about it right now, and it's like, if they haven't got a good,
as long as it's restrictive.
Well, it always seems to be to prevent bad things. It doesn't seem to be to encourage good things.
I think it's more of like, exercising the power of having people being compliant, that control.
Well, exactly, but how much better is it for like a government or somebody in charge to say, look, we've put a stop to this. We had all these noise complaints, and now we don't have any more noise complaints. And it's like, but people are going to go, wow, you've been really busy and doing a great job. Whereas people don't go, yeah, but there's no live music anymore.
Yeah.
Isn't that shit?
Yeah.
And so it's kind of a different, you can't adopt Australia's mentality in America because there's too many people go, screw you, like we're going to do it anyway.
I'm not sure if this is true, because I think the US was more free with less restrictions a while back.
I agree with that.
So, I think there is, I was trying to point out that there is just a different mentality between the two cultures. One is monarchy.
Yeah.
If you buy a land, the land belongs to the queen or king.
Yeah.
The crown is on the land. And the background of that is really, you have landlords, you have lords, you have people who listen to those, the police. You don't talk back to the police. It's all about being compliant. And actually, and I've heard it also. I brought this issue to other Aussies, and they say, well, yeah, in school, whoever sticks up, so they make sure you don't think you're better than anybody else.
That's right.
It's a part of the culture.
Yeah, they're quick to jump on it.
Where the States, the Constitution says, we, the people.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no crime.
Yeah.
It's about us. We run ourselves. We manage ourselves. We dictate what happens.
Yep.
Of course, that's not necessarily true because of the corruptions. Massive amount of corruption.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And what is going on now is like I can't even wrap my head around. I think U.S. is going to be deteriorating with whatever they're doing around the world. It's pretty sad.
There's corruptions everywhere. It's crazy, but you can't have the same. You can't run each country the same way as you run the opposite. Like, America's a lot looser.
But I think with, like the example you did, it's like when they do a check and you contact those people and you find out they put that check and they'll lower it down. It's like, what due diligence did you do?
Yeah.
That question is very important because otherwise, I mean, I'm sure it's going to take a few years still to get the COVID issue clarified still. I mean, they're finding so much stuff, but it was stuff pushed from top down bottom. And nobody can talk about anything. Things were not making sense. Arguments were upside down. What's up is down. What's down is up. And you shouldn't say that's the case. That's not the case because then there's something wrong with you. It's the whole virtual signals again. This is the institution says this is the way it is, and you need to just accept it and be a good boy.
Yeah.
And I think that. Australia has been, the Queen died, and we have a king, and how much do we really consider that monarchy is the way to go? And I think people need to wake up and speak up for their rights in a way. It's like, and that's the thing, is when you're getting a negative impact because of, somebody's not doing the due diligence and they think because they have the power, that's the way it is.
Yeah.
It's like, what is the follow-up on that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's a rock and hard place though too because I don't know anything about this.
You don't know anything about.
I don't know anything. Like all I know is my opinions on stuff. I'm not researched. I'm not like, but
in general, if somebody says that he does a job, there should be some sort of an audit trail, even if they say I did.
Absolutely,
that's an audit trail that you did.
Yeah, there has to be a truth trail. There has to be like
they can't just.
You need to either say we can't give you the information, instead of say, oh, this is the truth, and then it's not, or it's a blatant lie, or whatever. But I mean, you got to have people able to stand up for themselves as a community, but then also that's scary. Because
what is scary?
Not like in America, for example. Like, there's so many people. Like, even you talk about like gun control and all that sort of stuff. Like, there's so many people
here or in the States.
In the States.
Yeah.
There's so many people who have various perspectives on a topic.
Yeah.
Like, and as soon as you say, "Do you believe in gun control?" to some people, that means, do you need to have a license, or do you need to like gun control for one person could be you have a 24-hour waiting period before receiving the gun. Yeah. If you buy one, you have to wait 24 hours, come back the next day, and you get it.
Yeah.
To some people, that's what that means. To other people, gun control means we're taking your guns.
Yeah.
Right. Just gun control, that one word, could mean anything from between those two things.
The devil's in the details.
What happens is, all of the people from either of those perspectives and anything in between disagree with gun control because it means, oh no, I want to get my gun now, or you don't take my guns away from me, or you don't believe I should be able to protect myself. Or insert all the arguments that you want to put in there. But all of those people are now in the same band. Even though they have different perspectives on the topic, they're in the same band. And that's like half the country.
That's right.
That's 150 million people who feel that way. So if you get somebody, and they feel strongly about some of these massive topics, I mean, like, if you get if you get a leader or a senator or a bill or something passed that really polarizes something, then I'd be afraid to be in America then.
Yeah.
So would everybody. Like it's too much. You're giving
I'm already
too much.
there, mate. I'm already
Yeah,
there.
So but what do you do? Like you want people to have control with the topics that are important to them. You almost want to vote on that sort of stuff.
You don't want
but
the weird, politicizing things and changing and playing with words.
Exactly.
That deception part of it, I'm done with.
There has to be a truth, but then also you can't just say, "Hey, everybody, let's just run the place together." Like that can't work.
What do you mean run the police together?
I mean, like, "Hey, everybody, we're going to do like on a hypothetical, like, hey, we're going to have the people are going to run America." Like that almost couldn't work too. There needs to be some kind of, like, for the general human being, and I mean the somebody who can hold a conversation, who isn't afraid of working hard for their job, and who's interested in safety and health and providing for their family, and your average person, right? That would be great.
What
But
would be great?
as in having some kind of an input on how the government or society is run within their country, right?
Well, there is already a system in place.
That's right. But the problem
is lying
well, yes,
and politicizing.
But my point is, like, for the average person, they can either see past a lie, or they're socially adept enough to be able to have a conversation and disagree or agree or change their opinion or whatever. But in more populated countries, there's people who just don't understand and aren't interested, but have to have their opinion and have to vote. For example, like.
Don't put an opinion if you don't understand it.
Exactly, right? And so it's almost like voting.
Yeah.
Like everybody's got their own opinion on this, and I'm not saying that this is mine, but like hypothetically, everybody votes, right? But when everybody votes, you have people who have no idea what's happening, and they just tick the first box, and then that vote goes to person one, who might be, in everybody else's opinion, the worst option you could have picked. But it's just because that person doesn't care or doesn't know, and has been forced to vote, so they've selected that. Versus having only the people who care vote. But then the con of that is like, well, you don't represent everybody. You're just representing the people who want to vote. Well, so I don't know. That's the thing. It's like, I don't know. I would almost want to, like, a hybrid between it. It's like, I get confused with politics of like, okay, I want to vote for this person. But it's like, but if that person loses out, or if your majority vote goes, or like you end up voting for somebody who you wouldn't actually want, by voting for this person first, their vote gets actually cast to that person now because they've lost the running, or whatever, or like I want this person, but I disagree with 40% of the things that they're doing, but I like 60% of the things that they're doing. But then this person over here, I love 30% of what they're doing. Why can't that 30%, that 40% go? Like.
Well, I think you're pointing to the solution, which is why are we picking to start with parties? I mean, it's like belong to a party, and that party. It's like the party is about agenda of that party. Which is not. I don't know if there is a party that's got an agenda that we agree with 100% all of the points. And and we are so savvy now with the technology that you can vote on issues instantaneously. Live.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So it's like and then with a person, you need somebody who's a leader, whatever, and be able to execute. And you need to understand if are they like representing the people or are they representing themselves? I mean, what is democracy?
Well, then also, like, I mean, America's about to go through a new, like, presidential candidacy, like, and I just,
They're lost.
I get it.
They are lost.
I get it all. Whatever's going on, like, great, but like, I mean, how many billions of dollars get spent? Like, can we not just inject that back in and just everybody
Hello?
Like nobody's allowed to promote anything, and we just do a vote.
Wait a minute, that makes sense.
Or like, I don't know. I'm probably like, but like, I mean, even when you talk about like the UK, like we've got a new king, and they were going to spend, I think it's $8 billion. They're spending $8 billion to remove all the bills with the Queen's face on it, and circulate with new notes with the King's face on. $8 billion that was going to cost. What? Like, call me crazy. I don't give a shit. Like,
I think they're all going to go under.
Like, $8 billion to get what? Like, nobody
gets anything. Right?
Nobody looks at, like, here's a $5 note. I mean, for starters, hardly anybody uses cash anymore anyway. But, like, who cares? And, hey, this might, you might be different to me, but a $5 bill is a $5 bill. I need to pay $5. Like, I got more shit to worry about
than who's on
whose face is on the bill that makes no difference in my wallet. Like, can't we just print like any new $5 bills that's coming out, or when they print money or whatever, just be like, hey, the new one's got this on the. I don't know. It's
do you know in the States? They actually they're going under $1 trillion every 100 days. They go down under $1 trillion.
Another $1 trillion every 100 days.
In debts. It's amazing. I mean, what they did in COVID and all that. You know that if you were here, you put an application.
Yeah, the stimulus checks, and then you get
Centrelink, you get $750 because you got COVID.
Yeah.
And if you're in a hospital, that there's the budget for the COVID that feeds that hospital room if it's occupied by somebody who's COVID.
Yeah.
It's like money is like has no.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting. I don't know if you've been following up that the other countries, because of the Russia-Ukraine thing, and they use the dollar as a sanction.
Yeah.
I mean, they use sanctions all the time.
Yeah.
But Russia is strong enough and then they have so many alliances. It's like, okay, you're using that as a weapon. It was never intended as a weapon. It's intended as a tool for trading. So now they're getting together with BRICS. BRICS is Brazil, Russia, I is India, C for China. I'm not sure what the other is, but so many countries are joining that instead of like the G7, whatever that would be the economical thing.
Yeah,
they're de-dollarizing their exchange, so they're just aborting the whole dollar thing and the euro. So I think people are fed up. They're seeing what is going on and the policies and all that, and so the rest of the world is really taking a side to the Western group that's running with the U.S. leading whatever policies they want to do. So that's going to be and the amount of money they spent on weapons, whatever. It's like we're spending so much. It's not funny.
Yeah. Yeah. So like, and I don't know. I'm probably just different. Like when I think about just a human, like what do we want to do? We want to live. We want to eat. We want to be able to afford to drive a car, maybe. Like
that's you and me.
It's like, what is happening? Like, how is like all of these crazy countries in just brutal disagreement? Like, I don't understand. Like,
there's a lot of shaping. I mean, you notice a lot of censorships during COVID. You've noticed censorship about a lot of other things. So you see a lot of all the media is sold out. You don't hear much about the protesters all around the world and massive protests against the genocide that's happening in Palestine. Yeah, it's hardly covered. Yeah, a little bit here, a little bit. If you look at that's alternative, you see so much. So we know the media is volatile. So they shape the society the way they want. Yeah,
it's all information.
Yeah,
so everybody's getting information.
So you were saying earlier, you believe blah blah blah. Where did you get that belief from?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
they're shaping. I mean, you think it's democracy. How is it democracy if they're shaping how you think? Yeah, and what is right and what is wrong? But wink, wink. This is right.
Yeah.
You know, and that's how you're supposed to go. If you don't act like that, people look at you weird, and you're, something wrong with you.
Yeah.
That's,
Like you can find online now, like on almost any topic, you can find an argument that's like very clearly proving that this works. And then you could also find another evidence-based study that's like, no, scientifically, like proven that this works. Like it's like they're polarized opinions.
Yeah.
Like, and who's to say who is correct, or if just that study felt that worked, or that study felt that worked, or whatever. And it's like there's just too much knowledge, and people are for some reason obsessed with finding the knowledge and what the world's doing and what the US is doing and what war is doing and what products and like all the world topics are doing. And there's so much anti-information and stuff out there that's like nobody knows what is actually the truth anymore. And so now it's...
Because now they want to centralize it and they want to control it because they found that there are a lot of independent news. How dare they see things how they see it on the ground, or scientists that you have a direct connection with and you listen to them speaking, making sense to you. And I believe any of us. I mean, it's not like we came from some remote place in Egypt where they're not getting educated. I went through school, you went through school.
Yeah.
I'm sure if they can make sense to you, and of course you have the good salespeople that make whatever make sense to you.
Yeah.
But when you know that this guy's have huge credentials, and he's saying something opposite to the current.
Yeah.
You sort of
it's
what
weird,
is he standing on, and then you find out it's like, oh, he's going against the current because the current is trying to shape the whatever narrative, and he's saying, no, that's not what it is.
Yeah.
And you look at the amount of lies, it just adds up that you realize we're being betrayed by all this that we trust that they've went to learn medicine to provide this or provide that. Yeah. I don't want to learn about medicine. I'll let those guys that deal with it.
They should have a certain amount of trust. Absolutely.
We should be trusting those people. Yeah. But now we're like,
it's because there's so much polarity. Like I get to a point like it's so overwhelming, and also where do you like I'm hyper aware that I haven't got like a lot of the global topics because there's such polarity in it. I've gone down little rabbit holes of like, okay, what is this actually about? Who's actually at fault? What's the deal? And then you just find rabbit holes leading in polar opposite directions. And I get back to a point of like,
that takes time.
It takes a lot of time out of your day. I've got other things to work to deal with. I've got a family to support. I've got a career to continue. I've got songs to write and all that. And all of those things. Yeah. That's right. All of those things fill me up.
Yeah.
And so part of me is like an ignorance is bliss deal. That I'm like, you know what, you guys go fight about it. Like, I'm just going to be here enjoying my life as much as I can, seeing my wife and kids and eating good food and playing some music and just hoping that whatever you're going through as an audience participant or a listener, like hopefully my music makes you feel a little bit better or makes you feel like we can connect a little more or resembles whatever you're going through. And like, that's all I'm trying to focus on. Like, I'm trying not to get clouded.
You're doing a great job, and I really admire again the music that you're doing. And I was like looking at certain descriptions that one of them I felt like is influencer. I feel like you're influencing other people and helpful. I think I've taken a lot of your time. I appreciate you.
Thanks,
getting
man.
together and we're way past like 12:40.
Oh, okay, yeah.
We're talking about something.
That's all good.
I know you're busy.
Yeah, that's all good. Perfect. Well, thanks for having me, man. It's been a good conversation.
For getting together, and you're welcome anytime.
Perfect.
Have a follow-up or just between the two of us, whatever.
Sounds good.
Discussions are good.
That's right. They certainly are. Nice, man.
We'll stop it at that.
Thank you, bro.
I hope you enjoyed this conversation. I recommend you check out Carl Wockner's work, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, and all other places. He's very original in his ways, So it's kind of fun to watch and enjoyable to have, original things come out. Yeah, this was my second episode, so I hope you bear with me with getting more comfortable doing this and being fluent at it as hopefully one day. Anyhow, you have a great day, and hopefully you get to see the third. I haven't decided yet who I'm going to talk to. Have a great day. Hello, this is Youssef. I'm doing a podcast called Bushcast. Perspectives, sentiments, and expressions. It's putting spotlights on whoever I've met through my journey and somewhat local, so we can have person-to-person talk to put a spotlight on those people. And I hope you enjoy. This is called Wockner, who I've known for, about 15 years perhaps, maybe 14 years. He's a guitar player, he's like a loop master, and an influencer, I consider, from what he's done with his work. I hope you enjoy. Hello, this is Youssef. I'm doing a podcast called Bushcast. Perspectives, sentiments, and expressions. It's putting spotlights on whoever I've met through my journey and somewhat local, so we can have person-to-person talk to put a spotlight on those people. And I hope you enjoy. This is called Wockner, who I've known for, about 15 years perhaps, maybe 14 years. He's a guitar player, he's like a loop master, and an influencer, I consider, from what he's done with his work. I hope you enjoy.